We have never seen this before as the NHL trade deadline in 2025 has gone off the wall as there are rumors that Brad Marchand could be traded from the Boston Bruins. Mikko Rantanen may be traded twice according to recent reports, and even the New York Islanders with multiple things going on right now with Noah Dobson likely on the move and then re-signing an aging veteran. There is a bunch going on in the NHL with the trade deadline, and we got to break down the biggest stories coming up on this episode of Hat Trick HQ. So let's just dive right into it. And I want to start with Brad Marchand. And Brad Marchand, right now, RG.org had an article that we will link down below, and they said in the article, and a source said they're getting calls on Marchand, and teams are wondering what they're going to do here. But at this point, I still think they're just listening, but the fact the Bruins or Marchand haven't come right out and squashed this like they have in the past is telling. With things also being so quiet on contract talks, it tells you that this is getting real, though Mark Marchand did come out recently and speak about it, though I don't know if I'd say outright squash. We'll let the viewers say for themselves. He said it'd be weird to be traded. I'd probably feel very weird, a little lost, but I haven't really thought about it before, and I don't really think about it because it's not something that I really see happening. So I don't know. There's a lot going on with the Marchand situation, a pending UFA, captain of the Boston Bruins, having another good year, 20 goals in 57 games. Mark, what do you make of these rumors in Boston? Because as the days go by, the more I seriously question, as crazy as it sounds, like I said, we don't see this stuff very often, that Brad Marchand, the face of the Bruins, may just be gone.
Because, I mean, looking at Marchand for the past, 10 years, it feels like the Boston Bruins have always been a contender. We've seen them get a new kind of face once Bergeron left. Marchand was named captain, and this team was recently constructed, picking up free agents, Zadorov, Lindholm, Charlie Coyle's playing a bigger role, Swayman's just been inked to his big contract. But looking at the Bruins team, they're fighting for a wild card spot at this point. The team that looked like a contender just last season comes into this season fighting for wild card spot. Now, yes, the East is very tight this year, but looking at Brad Marchand, it's going to get quite interesting. As you said, this is a very productive player, the face of the Boston Bruins at this point, if you ask me. A 20 goal scorer. We've seen him just progressively get better from when he was drafted on this team. Getting traded would feel weird, but with the Bruins kind of in the midst of trying to get back to contending and also maybe looking at a retool, he is on the last year of his contract. He's a UFA. This would cost a lot from another team. Maybe the Bruins look at this and say, hey, we're not going to compete this year. Brad Marchand's not getting younger. Why not go out, move him, get a king's ransom for this player? Yes, it's your captain. Yes, it's the face of the franchise. But I think this would benefit the team in the long run. And I know that's crazy to say. I don't know if you're feeling the same way about it.
I mean, like, I'm of two minds about it because objectively, at that cap hit, like, teams will make that work. And to get a guy like that for a cup run would cost a king's ransom, and it'd be incredible. However, I think the city of Boston would they would lose their minds if this happened. Like, I don't think the Boston front office, like, has the cojones to do something like that. Like, they know the backlash would be crazy, despite maybe objectively being better for business long term. I don't know. There's something you do with guys like that, faces of the franchise. You usually keep them around. But the fact that we haven't heard many talks about an extension is a little interesting. But look, let us know your thoughts on that down below because that is a wild situation right now. Though I'd probably err on the side of not getting moved. But again, they're getting calls, and you never know. Maybe the right offer will come along. But let's move on. I want to move to New York because New York right now, the Islanders stuff is going crazy there as well as Lou Lamoriello. I don't know what he's doing, but hey, he's doing something. And according to RG.org as well, Noah Dobson is available for trade. And that is a piece the team is willing to part with in order to get that scoring presence that they have wanted for 3 seasons. Now, the Islanders seem to think that they're still in a contention window, which is like, okay, maybe fair. And Noah Dobson has been a big part of that, to be fair, too. Last season, putting up 70 points. This season, not quite as good, but he's still a 6'4", 25-year-old defenseman. The problem is, he is an RFA at the end of the year, so they'll need to sign an extension. But it seems like the talks aren't really progressing that much right now for the Islanders, as they're even looking to re-sign a guy like Brock Nelson. So their priorities seem not to lean too much in the future with Noah Dobson, but in the now with the core they have. Mark, what do you think about New York right now? A guy like Noah Dobson, I mean, last year we saw a guy like Hanifin get traded, but Dobson, I imagine, is also going to be one of those guys who could fetch an absolute mountain of a return at the deadline just because of the rarity of his position, the potential to be a number 1 right shot defenseman who can also have an incredible offensive upside.
Yeah, I mean, teams looking at this, a guy that put up 70 points, a right-handed defenseman, still locked up as an RFA, so you get the rights for this guy. This screams that teams are going to call on him. I mean, we've seen reports come out that the Islanders had sources said offered a guy like Dobson for Elias Pettersson from the
Mhm.
Vancouver Canucks. We know they're looking at all options. Matt Barzal is the number one center, but they're really lacking that true guy to go out put up 100 points. Pettersson did that, so maybe they've seen that coming from that guy. But it's such a weird standpoint with the Islanders. Like you said, Brock Nelson is a guy they're looking to resign. You said he was 33 years old. They're looking at an extension that might fall through if he walks to a new team or if they end up moving him. The Islanders are a team that's starting to age. They still have some young players within the organization. I mean, Noah Dobson is one of them. But with this core, you almost need to start pushing. And I'm not sure if they're at that yet. Maybe Noah Dobson's a guy you go out and move, get a boatload of new players to come
Mhm.
in, players that can impact you now less than a guy that's starting to grow and still needs to be signed, having a down year. Josh, looking at this, I think there is a realistic chance that he does move. I know the Islanders are very quiet with what they're doing. Lou Lamoriello doesn't like to leak rumors, but with all the reports coming from actual big names, it seems like something is brewing over there.
Something is brewing. And again, like if they don't want to pay him what he's going to ask for, because like here's the thing, there's two sides of this with Dobson, right? He's currently on that $4 million cap hit, but you have got to imagine he's getting at least 8 or 9 million, and with the cap going up soon, it might be even more than that. So he's going to try and negotiate for a bunch of money, and the Islanders might think we're better off without him longer term. Maybe they think that 70-point season is more of a fluke. And hey, the luck number, some of the advanced stats maybe indicate that it may have been. But right now, I don't like I believe Noah Dobson is a top tier. He can be a very much a future number one right D for whatever team trades for him. So let us know your thoughts on Dobson down below because the Islanders stuff is going crazy. But the big part of this here today, Mikko Rantanen, because I thought this was done, right? I thought this was completely done. But Nick Kypreos and even some other people have come out and talked a bit more about this Rantanen situation. And Nick Kypreos here said this. He said, going into the Four Nations break, it appears Carolina is no closer to signing him than Colorado was. While Carolina is prepared to make offers they think will entice Rantanen to stay, many who are watching closely feel that they will fall short at the end. Carolina can't really afford to give up Martin Necas and 2 draft picks for another guy who walks to UFA after trading for Jake Gensel, only to have him leave last year at that 2024 deadline. And there are multiple outlets saying, hey, could this be a real possibility that Mikko Rantanen gets traded? And the more we look at this, like, if the Hurricanes genuinely think that he will get or he will not sign an extension before really the trade deadline, I'm starting to think that this could happen. This would be completely unprecedented. First of all, a guy like Mikko Rantanen, a guy of his caliber, getting moved at the deadline is exceedingly rare, number one. But the idea that it's not impossible to see him move twice is absurd to me. And I don't think it's likely. But as time goes on right now, he got a little hurt with Carolina. His start hasn't been super amazing, though, to be fair, he's hit like 18 posts, I feel like, since he's gone there. Right now, like, the Hurricane situation's getting a bit dire, Mark. And, like, I don't know. I think for them, they're probably in protection mode now. Like, they're in panic mode. If they genuinely don't think that he can resign there, I think they might just have to cut their losses, say, you know what? Let's get something in return for him, as crazy as that sounds.
Yeah, no, he's on the last year of his deal. He's making 9.2, but the reports have surfaced that this guy might ask for around 14 or more. He wants to be the highest paid player in the NHL. He's had a successful season. We've seen him be successfully over the past couple seasons, winning the Stanley Cup. Moving on a guy from Natchez, which I want to touch on first, seeing how he's playing in Colorado does probably scare Carolina a bit once we see Rantanen join. He hasn't hit what he was in Colorado, but he's going to do it at some point. But the biggest problem is we see so many teams. The caps are rising by 9 million. Yes, Carolina does have cap space, but you have teams like the Chicago Blackhawks that could truly go out and say, hey, we'll give you 16 million. We'll sign you to 7 years. Try to match that, Carolina. And I think Rantanen having a Stanley Cup, already having accolades throughout the NHL, might look at this and say, hey, why don't I just get paid? Why don't I go be paid by far the highest paid NHL player? Let me sign in Chicago. Maybe at the end of this when Bedard and the team grows, maybe I'll get another Stanley Cup. But I think Carolina is going to be start to get worried about this. I mean, like we've seen from Nick Kypreos, they're not really close, no closer than was with Colorado. And we've seen the panic from Colorado moving debatably their third or second best player. I know McKinnon and McCarr are definitely higher, but
Mm-hmm.
moving a top three player, and it doesn't even justify how well of a player this guy is. I would not be shocked if they get to deadline, start to panic and say, hey, let's field some offers on this guy.
Like Gensel 2.0, like Kipper said, like you can't afford for that to happen again. You will lose so much faith in the locker room, but also with your fans. And we already saw some iffy things going on in that locker room with Marty Necas. I don't know how much of that was relative to, the trust in front office or whatever. I think Natchez just wanted to play more, be the guy. He got that chance and he was still moved out because obviously you do that to get a guy like Rantanen. But if they lose him like they lose Gensel and they get nothing, I think either way, if he doesn't get signed this summer, there's going to be a lot of people not very happy with the Hurricanes. But this is what I'm saying: this trade deadline has been bonkers so far, and we still have almost a month to go. The Four Nations going on now. There will be guys who won't be back on their same teams. Will that include Rantanen? Will that include a guy like Brad Marchand? We'll have to wait and see. But let us know what you guys think down below in the comments, because that'll do it for this episode of Hat Trick HQ. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for making it this far into the video. We really appreciate your support. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Mark Pye. We'll catch you in the next one.